day.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, as we like to say in the news business, it was a crazy day. Quickly, I want to pull you up for those that may have missed the press conference yesterday. I know that we posted it on civiccentertv.com, but just real quickly, here is the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of the state of Michigan talking about the big case, a jaw-dropping case about the plot to kidnap the governor. Here is what he had to say yesterday during the press conference.
Thank you, Attorney General Nessel. Last night, the FBI and Michigan State Police arrested 6 individuals charged in a federal complaint with conspiring to kidnap the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. According to the complaint, unsealed this morning, Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta conspired to kidnap the governor from her vacation home in the Western District of Michigan before the November election. Under federal law, each of these individuals faces a term of any number of years up to life in prison if convicted. Fox, Garbin, Franks, Harris, and Caserta are residents of Michigan. Croft is a resident of Delaware. All of us standing here today want the public to know that federal and state law enforcement are committed to working together to make sure violent extremists never succeed with their plans, particularly when they target our duly elected leaders. The federal complaint in this case alleges that the FBI began an investigation earlier this year after becoming aware that through social media that a group of individuals was discussing the violent overthrow of certain government and law enforcement components. Through confidential sources, undercover agents, and clandestine recordings, law enforcement learned particular individuals were planning to kidnap the governor and acting in furtherance of that plan. The alleged conspirators used operational security measures, including communicating by encrypted messaging platforms, and used code words and phrases in an attempt to avoid detection by law enforcement. Among other activities, members of this conspiracy on 2 occasions conducted coordinated surveillance on the governor's vacation home. Fox and Croft, in particular, according to the complaint, discussed detonating explosive devices to divert police from the area of the home. And Fox even inspected the underside of a Michigan highway bridge for places to seat an explosive. The complaint further alleges that Fox purchased a taser for use in the kidnapping and that the group successfully detonated an improvised explosive device wrapped with shrapnel to test its anti-personnel capabilities. The FBI and state police executed arrests of several of the conspirators when they were meeting on the east side of the state to pool funds for explosives and exchange tactical gear. This investigation is ongoing. Agents of the Detroit field office of the FBI and other members of their Joint Terrorism Task Force, including the Michigan State Police, are conducting this investigation.
That was a U.S. attorney for the Western District of the, here we go, Tyler, sorry. So that was the U.S. attorney, Andrew Burge. He handles the western side of the state, but this was a joint operation that involved local Michigan State Police, but as well as Western District, Eastern District, the entire state of Michigan, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office. So along with the 6 individuals that have been charged federally, we have 7 others that are being charged with state crimes. This we mentioned this yesterday during the Megacast that this was coming down. But I think everyone in the news industry, everyone was just shocked at the enormity of this investigation, because one of the things, if you have the opportunity, you can read the federal complaint It's an affidavit that is public documents, and you can go on Pacer and read them. You can see how they're taking this from, is this a person's First Amendment right, into which they're just talking and blowing off steam, to the level of where this is getting scary. They plan to go through with this plot. And it wasn't just about the governor, it was also law enforcement, and they wanted to overturn government. And it really is scary when you think about that. But I will say, when it comes down to this pandemic, it is taking these fractions of the community, and they're finding these social media networks to bring them together. And I think in some ways it does elevate their discomfort and uneasiness with what's going on in the world right now.
It certainly elevates frustrations, but these fringe groups, these domestic terrorists, like these people allegedly are, who are allegedly involved in this plot, it certainly gives them opportunity. And in some ways, with other people's frustrations being so heightened due to the circumstances of the pandemic, it comes off to them, it seems, as justification to go further with these plans and maybe even try to play them out. So still a lot of information we have to learn more about this case, and I'm certain we will as time goes on.
I will tell you, as I worked for the federal government for a while with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and I was surprised to see them put out as much information as they did. Yeah. Typically, they will just say, hey, here's the criminal complaint. It's a public document. You can go on and look at it. But for them to stand up together, Matthew Schneider, who is the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District, he covers our area, he was up there, as well as Michigan State Police and, of course, the AG's office as well. This is serious business. We forget sometimes. We want to think that some of these groups are on the fringe. But you have to remember, too, Timothy McVeigh, they started with a militia group out of Michigan. So these groups do exist. And this group was calling themselves the Watchmen Militia. But I think one of the things that's kind of scary about this group is they were really kind of underground. No one was paying attention to them. And it was, if it wasn't for the person who was on the inside, a confidential informant, and I will say, typically confidential informants are very closely regarded. I will say, if you read the criminal complaint, if you're in that group, they know who the person is. It's someone within their group. But they will back it up, and they brought in some of these undercover agents to kind of help facilitate this investigation. It started back months ago, and I think one of the things that fueled it was not reopening of the gyms because of COVID-19. So they wanted to kidnap the governor, according to the complaint, take her to Wisconsin and put her on trial for treason.
Yeah.
Tyler's like, I don't know. This is craziness.
It's insane. It's completely and totally insane. These people are domestic terrorists, and allegedly, and should they be found guilty of this, it's good that those people that are responsible for this alleged plot would be going away for a very long time.
What a way to start off the Friday Megacast.
Wow.
But obviously everyone has been following this. This has made national news, and now it's become a battle between the governor and the President Trump, and it's becoming a mess. But in any regard, it is in our backyard. It's something we need to pay attention to, and so we'll be following that. We're going to be talking with Curt Lawson a little bit later in the show, not only about this, just his law enforcement insight maybe about these investigations, but also there's breaking news out of West Bloomfield this morning as well. There's a home invasion just after 3 o'clock this morning here in West Bloomfield, in which an individual was shot, and now they're out looking for suspects. So we'll be getting an update with Curt Lawson a little bit later here in the Megacast, and we always appreciate our law enforcement officers as well as West Bloomfield Police Department to give us those updates. Also on civiccentertv.com, if you're following along, For the latest headlines, more than 100 members of the faith-based groups and churches gathered at the Capitol lawn Thursday support efforts to loosen Governor Gretchen Whitmer's restrictions in Michigan in a rally dubbed Let Michigan People Go. The previously planned gathering by Stand Up Michigan occurred as news broke that the state and federal agents had arrested at least 13 individuals who allegedly planned to kidnap the governor, in part because of her restrictive COVID-19 rules. Stand Up Michigan organizers condemned the violence against the governor. Also yesterday in Lansing, the Republican-controlled Michigan Senate moved to replace some of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's COVID-19 executive orders while laying out the groundwork for a dispute by tying up an extension of unemployment benefits to new legal protections for businesses. The Senate tie-barred a 6-week extension of the maximum length of jobless assistance, which is widely supported in Lansing, to proposals that would shield businesses from some legal claims over COVID-19 exposure. The tie bar would essentially force Whitmer to veto both proposals or sign both. Many Democratic lawmakers had previously opposed the immunity bills, which passed the House last month. And we did speak a little bit about these proposals and to protect the businesses from liability from COVID-19 earlier this week with Brian Calley, who heads up the Small Business Association. So that I think this is one way that we're going to start to see, now that the governor's powers to issue the executive orders have been stripped, this is where the politics are going to come in. And whether they can compromise or not compromise, people are going to suffer in the meantime.
Yeah, it's going to be a large adjustment period while we wait for these new decisions to be made and these new regulations and protocols to be put in place by the partnership of the legislature and the executive branch, or one versus the other, most likely the legislature. So we know the House and Senate don't typically get things done in a very quick manner, so it's going to be a tough few weeks, couple of months, who knows, before anything else is put in place to replace what the governor had in place before.
One of the things with the health department, when they are coming in and they are still regulating the mandates regarding wearing a face covering as well as requiring the capacity limits, those are health issues. But when you're looking at issues such as unemployment, the health department can't issue an executive order on that topic. So this is where the two sides are going to have to come together. I think even more so now, because you got to remember, we're how many weeks away from the election. But when you say that, we're really in the election cycle right now, because for the first time, people are allowed to vote currently for the upcoming election. So this is no longer about November 3rd. This is about right now.
Yeah, people are already making those decisions, and decisions that are made by leadership at this very moment in time are going to be decisions that may immediately affect a voter, a handful of voters, tens of voters, hundreds or thousands of voters who are submitting their ballots at this moment in time and getting them into their local clerks for this upcoming election. So these decisions are not going to be ones that have consequences a month from now. They could have consequences immediately for some of these local and state leaders.
But today is a good day, a happy day that so many people have been waiting for. Movie theaters and other venues are allowed to reopen today. For the first time in nearly 7 months, theaters, performance venues, arcades, bingo halls, bowling centers, indoor climbing facilities, amusement parks, and trampoline parks are able to reopen. Businesses, though, will have to keep records on those entering their facilities in case of an outbreak, so they can be contacted later. And of course, they're going to have to abide by those capacity limits. For those excited, though, to catch a flick on the big screen, just so you know, you may have to still wait and see for the blockbuster hits. Hollywood has shifted release dates to sidestep the public health crisis. It's still struggle time, Tyler, for so many of these movie theaters. And we focus on movie theaters, but there are other venues like the trampoline places.
Yeah.
Like I love going to that Airtime, I think it's called.
Yeah, it is.
There are so many other places that are struggling with this, but we focus on movie theaters because that's our escape from reality, and we haven't been able to do that. But if they don't get the big shows, the big movies in to attract the crowds, that's going to continue to hurt them.
Yeah, and these films want to have the biggest bang for their buck. They want to be in the theaters. When they know people are going to go to the theaters, they're going to flock into those seats to watch these movies in the period of time that they're going to be in theaters. So you're seeing big productions like Daniel Craig's last James Bond film, No Time to Die. Apparently they have plenty of time to die, and they're going to continue to delay that. So it's going to be a while, probably even after the theaters reopen, before you see some of these big ticket releases, because they want to make sure they're putting it out when people are going to be going to the theaters regularly.
Yeah, the big movie I want to see is the new Wonder Woman. There are some movies that you can watch at home, even if you have a 55 or a 72-inch screen TV. There are some movies you want to see in the theater.
Yeah.
And that is one of them for me, and all those are delayed in their release. So, but you can still get out there, buy your popcorn,
Sure.
sit in the theater, enjoy your time. Hey, so you'll find those headlines as well as links to all the resources that you need to try to keep up to date on the pandemic, including a link to the CDC resources, the state of Michigan, Oakland County. Just go to civiccentertv.com and click on the coronavirus page. Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be speaking with a therapist, a social worker, and trying to survive 7 months, nearly 7, I think it's 6.5 technically, months into the pandemic, what it's like to try to survive it, but also some tips to get our parents through and our teenagers through. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Hi, my name is Curt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I have to put my earbuds in there. Tyler, you always amaze me with your little side stories. I love them.
Well, thank you.
It also reminds me of our difference in our age. Tyler is, are you Gen X, Gen Z? No, I think you're Gen Z.
I'm technically a millennial. Gen Z, I think, is right after.
Okay.
I don't know. It means nothing to me.
It means you're younger than I am. Thank you for tuning into the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here with Tyler Keefe in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. We want to remind everyone you can catch us on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, also Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. If you're out driving around in your car, 89.3 WBLD, 88.1 WBFH. If you're on Facebook today, you can tune in with us here on my Facebook, my journalist Facebook page, Ronnie Dahl. Sorry, my personal one is logged up. Do you know, I have people from like 5 years ago still waiting to be a friend, because I don't understand why they limit people to 5,000.
You gotta wait in line.
No, it's just silly. It's silly that they make people wait to become a friend. You should do away with the public page and have one page and just go at it from there.
We'll try to get Mark Zuckerberg on and propose that to him.
Yeah, why don't you? And all these, it's just silly. Anyway, we are diving in to today's Oakland County Megacast here on a Friday. Excited to have Brooks Bendix with us. She is a master social worker of therapology. So it's great to have you with us on the Oakland County Megacast. I was reading your bio, and you're a former camp counselor. What was that like growing up?
Well, thank you for having me this morning. Yes, I was a former camp counselor for several years, many years. I went to camp as a camper for almost a decade, and then was a counselor after that. And that's really where I learned a lot of my skills to be able to, and my passion for working with kids and teens, to be able to handle and manage a lot of the emotional and behavioral issues. From the time I was 17 to about 22 years old, and then went into starting my career.
See, we never imagine that those early experiences in our life are going to put us on our long-term path and our journey of life of helping others. So that is great to know as well. So do you mainly try to focus on teenagers? Because they're a lot different than when we were kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I say some of the same terminology that they use, and they look at me like, what are you talking about? Yes, most of my clientele I focus on are between the ages of 4, so pretty young, up until about 22, 23, so like post-college. And, I see the gamut of issues right now. A lot of it's focused on anxiety and depression, and a lot of social isolation.
What is your advice to them as well as their parents? Because I think we all thought this was going to be maybe a month or 2 months, but we're going into 7 months of this. So I think what's even making it harder is we can't even give them an end date as to when this is going to end. What advice are you giving to your clients, but as well to their parents who are navigating this new world along with them?
So the big thing is that we as mental health clinicians are also experiencing this along with them. So the biggest thing that I say to my clients, the kids, the teens, the parents, is to validate their emotions. What they're experiencing right now is unprecedented. We've never been through it before. The uncertainty of all of it. What we don't know when this is going to end or what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. So validating their feelings that this is hard, this is challenging, and that they have somebody with them to support them. I tell that to parents as well, that, to focus so much on their academics and their grades right now seems a little bit unrealistic, because they don't have a sense of safety and security. So we need to allow them to feel that first and foremost before we can dive in and focus on their academics. As long as they're waking up in the morning, maybe getting outside, getting some physical activity, and seeing their friends in some capacity, whether it's virtual or getting outside from a distance, that's getting them through the day.
I have been seeing, like, my Facebook feed is filled with parents who feel like they are failures right now because they're having to try to work remotely but also homeschool, and they can't give their children the attention they need. They know they are struggling. What can we do to try to come together as one to get them through this time, which we hope doesn't last much longer?
Really, as I said, not only validating our children's feelings, but parents as well. every parent, every family is different and unique, and they all have their own challenges, whether they're working from home and they don't have any kids, or they have 4 or 5 kids from preschool age to high school and college. Everyone has their own individual family journey that they're on, and their own rules, restrictions that they're abiding by, whether they have a family member who's immunocompromised or not, but really providing that support and understanding. Because as much as each family is very different in how they're going about this, we're all really experiencing it together. So I think really opening up an ear and listening to each other as parents and providing that support.
What do you suggest to parents is, should they let their kids know that they're anxious as well and they're going through this for the first time, or should they kind of put up that facade that, hey, I'm here, we're going to get through this, I'm the rock of the family, but maybe then, express their anxiety to maybe their family members or their girlfriends or their other friends? What is a suggestion in that arena?
Well, I always tell parents that modeling is the best thing that we can do for our kids and our teens. Model how we can handle this and how we can approach it. That will teach them resilience. So if we're expressing to them that mom or dad feels a little bit nervous or anxious in how we're handling it, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to go for a walk and get some fresh air because I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now and I'm about to have a breakdown. That's modeling positive behavior, that I can do something about it, that I can take control. I can go outside, get some fresh air, get some exercise, and holding that in almost provides them with a sense of, well, my parents, my mom or dad is not necessarily feeling the same way that I'm feeling, so I should hold that in too. It provides them, it encompasses like a sense of shame around it, that what everyone is going through right now, we've never experienced. So it is normal. It is normal to feel anxious and have a sense of insecurity. But as parents, what we can model and show them is absolutely significant during this time. And it's okay to validate, use words to label those feelings and those emotions, and then show them what they can do to handle it.
Brooke Bendix with us. She is a licensed master social worker of therapology, joining us this morning on the Oakland County Megacast. Brooke, let's talk about social media's impact on kids and their mental health during this crisis. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, social media has always had an impact of, it shows the best of people's lives, doesn't show the worst necessarily of their lives. And so those that are viewing it at their low points tend to have a fear of missing out or have some sort of, not necessarily jealousy, but they want to be in the same happy position as what they're seeing their friends and their family and other people they're acquainted with on social media. How has that been inflated, if at all, during this pandemic, and how has social media taken a further toll on the mental health of kids and even adults during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I'd say social media and technology altogether has taken a huge toll on teens' mental health right now. We've seen it used kind of as a platform, as a way for them to communicate, to connect, and also just to get their message out there about what they're going through and what they're feeling. Excuse me. On the other hand, there's also a lot of negative comments too that can come with all of that, with putting your message out there, where, excuse me, where they're bringing that on to them, not bringing them on to themselves. They're bringing that on by putting messages out there on social media where they not necessarily understand how to grasp all of that with the negative comments, because there's a lot. And I've seen a lot of teens put their message out there about what they're experiencing and get a lot of negative feedback. So I've seen a lot of kids grow, their anxiety grows even more with this, with social media. And I've seen kids being on their phone for upwards of 7 or 8 hours a day, all day, because they're not getting outside, they're not in school, they don't have that break. And I take that back, that they're not in school, they're not in the physical building for school. So there's a difference. Being at home, I've heard a lot of kids where they're supposed to be on their Zoom classrooms and they're really on their phones and they're on social media, and they're taking a lot of breaks from their Google Classrooms and Zoom classrooms, and they're consuming themselves with social media. So I've seen a lot of anxiety increase with that, and even more so feelings of social isolation. So, the impact of social media has been both a positive in the sense where they're able to connect and get their message out there, what they want to portray. But at the same time, we're seeing a lot of issues with decreased self-esteem and increase of anxiety, depression even, because what they're seeing is a lot of negative feedback around social media.
Yeah, and Brooke, one of the things I worry about too, especially now with the Zoom classrooms in which you're required to attend, some of these kids come from different backgrounds. And what is in your background, people are paying attention to that. I will say every time I see an interview or whatever, that's one of the first things you look at is the person's background behind them. And I worry about the social economic differences between some of these kids that are in the classrooms, because it's different to know you in a school atmosphere, but now I'm basically inviting you into my home. And my background, when you're a child, matters. And I feel like there could be new judgment and new stereotypes put on some of these kids, which is a new added pressure on top of all of this, and it has nothing more to do than what's in the background of their virtual classroom. Are you seeing that?
Well, I'd say not only the virtual background, but talk about audio. So, I've heard of a couple of kids and teens, where they each have designated areas in the house. But, if they're not on mute, then whatever is happening and going on in the house, the entire classroom can hear that. So I've heard stories from teens and young adults in college where they're on their Zoom classes and they can hear what's happening in another classroom, another student's house at that time if they're not on mute. So it's both not only the visual, but I'd say even more so is the audio part, is that we're really getting an idea of what's going on in students' homes. I know from the very beginning of the shelter in place, when I was either at my office or at my home, my clients would look around, they'd be like, oh, yeah, look, and try and see what was in my house. And, so you're getting a much more intimate look into kids, adults, homes, when we're working from home. So it's a very different feel now that we're not in the classroom or we're not in the workplace, is that we're basically in our personal lives and still continuing to be in school or at work.
How do we teach our kids to have enough self-confidence that they can stand up to this new world of, I don't want to say it's a form of bullying, but it is more of a form of, people judging you. So is there a way to, as a parent, if I'm listening to this, what would you say to them to give them tips for their kids, to give them the tools that they need to shield off the judgment of other people? And the same word as that is, what would you give to parents to use those tools as well?
Well, what I think we are creating right now is the next generation, as I hope, we're creating a generation of resilient kids, because what we are going through in this global pandemic and these uncertain times, the terminology that we use on a regular basis is the next generation, Gen Z, of resilience. And as parents, we need to teach them and educate them that this is how we're going to do it. We need to be able to model to them that we're taking it one day at a time, one step at a time. We're going to be more present in the moment and not focus on what's going to happen tomorrow or the next week or the next school year, whether that means going off to college or not, because we don't know. But building that confidence comes with resiliency and strength. So being able to overcome these challenges and these adversities and support one another and connect is probably the most important thing, because kids are resilient by nature. And if we show them that it's okay to break down every once in a while, it's okay to feel nervous and anxious. It's okay, I say this all the time, it's okay to not get a 4.0 GPA or get straight A's right now. We need to focus on their safety, their security, their sense of well-being. And as parents, we're going to continue to support them in that and build their resilience so that they can be the next generation of voters, of lawyers and doctors and politicians, whatever that may be in their world, and that they can be successful.
Brooke Bendix with us, a licensed master social worker with therapology, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Brooke, just another couple minutes with you before we have to let you go and move forward. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today, or any other information or advice for our audience, teens, adults, parents, whatever the case may be, that you believe would be important for them to know at this moment in time?
I would just say really taking it one day at a time, and as parents, validating their kids' feelings and emotions, and knowing that any sort of anxiety or feelings of nervousness and uncertainty is absolutely normal. And if we can all kind of support each other in that process and stay very focused on the present day, that would be the best thing, I'd say, in terms of moving forward.
Brooke Bendix with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. We so appreciate your time and all of your advice as well. We wish you the best as this crisis continues to go on. I'm sure it's not easy for you as well. Are you pretty much doing your programs in virtually, or are you in person now as well?
So I am about, because of the nature of my clientele, I'm about 80% in person. So I do have young kids and teens coming into my office and taking all the necessary precautions and wearing masks. I've been doing it since about July, since the summer, since July. And the other 20% is virtual.
What's the difference been for you or trying to help these kids and teenagers virtually versus in person? Is there a difference in the services or how they receive what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. I was very eager to get back into my office and to start seeing my clients in person. I know many of my colleagues still are continuing to provide virtual telehealth therapy. But for me, I made the decision to return back to my office. And I had many parents and kids asking me when I was going to be back in my office. It's a huge difference to be able to see somebody face to face in person and see their mannerisms and get a sense of how they really are doing. I remember the first week that I came back into my office in person and all masked up and from a distance and cleaning and everything. And I had a teen say to me, "I wish I could give you a hug. I wish I could have that physical interaction and that contact because it feels so good to see another human being right now."
Oh, that has to be hard for you to hear, right?
You do get a sense of that they really truly need that interaction, that human contact, because it was so different. And I'm so grateful and happy to be able to provide that support even virtually for them from a distance. But I will say that it was absolutely night and day between doing virtual telehealth to being in person and being able to see face to face really truly how they are doing.
Well, Brooke, we appreciate your time and all of your advice as well, and we wish you the best of luck, as well as so many of these kids and these families continuing to navigate this crisis. It has to be so hard for them. Virtual learning and virtual therapy just cannot replace in person. So we hope that they come out stronger on the other end.
I do too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Brooke Bendix with us. She is with Therapology. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Still a lot to get to as we continue the show. This has been the Oakland County Megacast.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19: wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
It's the Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast here in the Civic Center TV studios in 89.3 Lakes FM. See what happens, Tyler, when I'm trying to do like 20 different things at the same time?
Yep, that'll do it.
I'm like, it's really hard because we're streaming live on my Facebook page. So I'm trying to update as we're going, but trying to do that and the board and pay attention and listen. I'm too old for this, Tyler. You're a Gen Zer, Gen Xer. Like you can handle all this.
Yes.
You can definitely handle all of it, Tyler.
Certainly, I can try.
Tyler does like 50 million jobs around CivicCenterTV.com. By the way, if you're tuning in today, we want to say thank you. If you do subscribe to cable, a huge shout out to you because you help support programs such as this. You can catch us on Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T, and the radio, 89.3 WBLD, 88.1 WBFH. And of course, we are streaming live today on my Facebook page as well. Taking a little bit shift in topics right now, we want to bring in Neil Hitz. He is the co-founder of My Life Directory. Sometimes we don't want to have these discussions in life, but we need to have these discussions in life, and that is what to do if your loved one or the someone in your family is no longer able to make the decisions that they need to make to be able to navigate their world. And we're talking about maybe they have dementia or they have Alzheimer's or they're in an accident, and you need to get access to their information. So let's bring in Neil Hitz right now. Thank you for being with us on the Oakland County Megacast. It's great to have you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We definitely can hear you. Thank you for being with us on Zoom. Are you a Zoom expert now?
Only about 5 times so far in my entire life have I done this.
Well, it's great to have you. You're doing wonderful.
Listen, I want to thank you for your interest in this project, and your intro comments there were perfect. I mean, there's not much more I can say about the importance, but let's try some questions.
No, it's very important, and this isn't just for people in their aging years, but this really is a conversation that all of us need to have. I don't care if you're 20, 21, or 28, or 58, or 88. We need to make sure that we do make provisions in our life, or if something were to happen to us, that other people and our loved ones can help us navigate this world when we're unable to do it. So tell us a little bit about your project and My Life Directory. How did it even get started?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the age situation, because when my wife and I were in our 40s, we had occasion to travel together on business. And we thought, gee, if something happens, either temporary or permanent, someone's got to come in and take care of our sons and raise them. And how are they going to know where everything is? So we started a simple notebook and put down the location, not the documents, but the location of all the documents and information that were scattered around the house. And we've been doing that ever since. So about 7, 8 years ago, our friends would tell us these very sad, emotional, and stressful stories about having to take over for a friend or a relative or a parent. And we would say, gee, we've got this system we use. And they said, that sounds pretty cool. Why don't you see if you can put something together? So we sat down and wrote out what now is turned into My Life Directory. And it's a booklet. It's a 44-page booklet or a fillable PDF. I did some research, some focus groups, printed copies, sent them across the U.S. to people I knew. And then I sort of put the whole project on the shelf. Last year, I looked in the mirror and I said, you're really not getting any younger. And if you're going to do this, you should do it. So with some help, I put together a website and launched in the spring of 2019. So that's the background story.
I love that you decided to go forward with this, because it does help prompt conversations that need to be had in families. Because as a former news reporter, I can tell you, you reach out to families that are devastated by tragedy, and those tragedies happen at all ages of life and all stages of life. But it's uncomfortable for people to have these conversations. But just the simple things of, what is your password? Because if you don't have a password to someone's account, it makes it hard to manage and try to get access to some of their accounts, correct?
Absolutely. And again, you keep mentioning the fact that it's not just for elders, and that's so important. People have a tendency to think of My Life Directory and the topic as being about death. You can have an interruption in your life at any age, whether it's a car accident or a serious illness or a stroke. And certainly COVID has brought that home to us now. So it's really, the other important point is, one of the audiences is what I call the mid-career folks in working with their parents. And that's a tough topic to talk about with parents, like planning ahead, mom and dad, and what about this? The beauty of My Life Directory is it does that for you. It gives, it's a third party that forces the parents to think about documents, see if they can find them. If they don't exist, to create the documents. So the mid-career sandwich generation don't have to have that personal conversation with mom and dad. And frankly, if you're in mid-career with a family, you should have a copy of My Life Directory also.
So My Life Directory, what are some of the documents people should know and should have on hand, and where would they store it?
Okay, well, that's the kind of documents are the typical insurance and medical and other documents like that, legal documents. But the things people don't think about are, where's the list of my prescriptions, or where's my pension information, or what kind of direct deposits and withdrawals are coming in and out of my account. If it's necessary or appropriate, where are the citizenship papers or the deeds to the house, or as you mentioned, passwords and Netflix and all of that. If we have a storage unit, where is it? How do you get into it? How about passports, birth certificates, military certificates? In My Life Directory, there's over 100 topics, which are thought starters, designed to get people to start thinking. And in most cases, they don't know where the documents are, or they haven't created them. As to where to put the documents, it's really up to you. There are some documents you may want to refer to every month. Other ones you may look at once a year. It doesn't really make sense to me to keep those all in the same drawer in the same box. The important part is that someone who has to come in and take over, they just need to know where to look for the things. So you don't have to move everything around, just put down the location. That's the beauty of My Life Directory compared to some other elements. AARP has books and things like that that are 200-300 pages where you write everything in. The directory is very simple. You just put down the location.
Joining us today is the co-founder of My Life Directory, Neil Hitz, with us today on the Oakland County Megacast. So for those that are interested in doing this for their families, for their loved ones, in the case of an emergency that comes up in their life that in which these documents and this important information could be lost in translation because someone's unable to provide them to their loved ones, how do people get started? Do they go through you and then fill all this into your website? And then on top of that, my other question would be, people want to keep this information secure. How assured are they that their information is secured when they are engaging with My Life Directory?
Okay, let me see how I can do with that. First of all, here's a copy of My Life Directory. Here's what it looks like. There's the hard copy, and there's also a PDF that's exactly the same. People, let's take security for a minute. Parents sometimes are concerned that they don't want to have all that information available. Well, the hard copy can be, you can tear out pages, you can scan it, you can put some pages in a bank account, other pages in the desk drawer. The PDF also allows you to do that because you download it. It's called a fillable document. Then you store it in your cloud. You can print out certain pages, other pages not. Because there are 16 categories, 16 sections, everything from finance to insurance to wills and trusts. So you can decide which things you want to keep confidential and which things you do not. You had one other question. What was that?
No, it's just about the security of it.
Now, you know, what's interesting about My Life Directory is I get emails every week from people that say, gee, thanks for doing this. Over 800 copies have been sold in just the last year and a half. And I think it's interesting the number of people I've met. Just to give you an example, about a year ago, a gentleman bought a copy and we started communicating. Well, it turns out he's an editor and columnist for the Wall Street Journal. So he put together a whole column on the topic of keeping track of where everything is. And as a matter of fact, last Monday, there was a half-page article on the entire topic. So the topic is getting a lot more attention these days because it's a reality that we're all going to face some type of interruption in our life. And for people, it gives them a peace of mind that they know they've done the best for their family and spouse. They've written everything down.
Neil, I love that you just said that. It's peace of mind. Because even if you're not comfortable having these conversations with your extended family, maybe you just do it on your own and let one person know where this information is secured so that they can access it then.
The next point, we're talking about audiences here. We've talked about individuals. We've talked about the mid-career or sandwich generation. I'm starting to talk to the professional people now, the attorneys, financial planners, insurance salespeople, even real estate people are using My Life Directory to give to someone who is considering downsizing. Because when you downsize, you have to find everything. So that's working. Senior centers and some not-for-profits are using the directory. You'll notice on the cover, my name's not on the cover. There's no name down here. I don't consider myself the author of the directory. I'm sort of like the coordinator, facilitator. So I intentionally didn't put my name on it. It's really a compilation of what people have suggested to me, which allows the directory to be branded. Not-for-profits are putting their name on the cover and offering to their members or the general public for donations, say $15, $20. So that's getting exposure that way. The reach of My Life Directory is so broad because, frankly, it affects everyone.
So what is the price point on this? If I'm listening or watching this interview right now, what do I need to do to reach out to you, and what would the price point be?
Okay, first of all, it's very simple. mylifedirectory.com. That's the website. You can learn all about it. At the website, you'll be able to order the hard copy, which is $11.50 in your mailbox, or $4.50 for the PDF, which is what's called a fillable document. You download it, and then you can fill it in.
That seems like such a little price, because I'm sure there are so many things in this that the average person, even those that think they are prepared, that there are probably topics that they come across or that are in this life directory that they wouldn't have thought about as well.
Well, you know, several people have said you're not charging enough for this because in some people's minds, price determines value. But this has become a mission for me. This is not a big profit venture. And I figure if I can keep the price as low as possible, that means that more people will buy it. The other thing is, when I was talking about volume copies, I can discount this. I happen to know the printer very well, and I can discount this almost 50% for people that want to buy multiple copies. I've had individuals buy a copy and then come back and order 10 copies just to give to their relatives or their kids. So, as I said, the breadth of and the need and the audiences for My Life Directory are just huge.
What's your response been from those that you've shared this with?
Well, as I said, over 800 people have ordered it. So I take that, and what that tells me is that there's two things. There's a need for this, and then My Life Directory fills that need in a simple, inexpensive, confidential way to do this. I get emails. Alzheimer's of Michigan has put copies in their family library. Presbyterian Senior Services in New York actually I've licensed them. They produce a slightly different version, and they're offering that for their members. So the fact that people keep ordering and keep coming up with new ways to use this tell me that there's some traction there.
Neil Frank's with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He is the co-founder of My Life Directory. I love that you came up with this, and I'm happy to see that it is actually getting some attention, because not just during COVID, but during all of our life stories and journeys, this is such an important thing for us to put out there and to know, because when you are on the other side, it's the simple things, right? It's like if people have social media accounts or their bank accounts or even their phone accounts, things of that nature. If you're having to handle your loved one's affairs in a crisis, the last thing you want to worry about is not being able to assist them in the best way possible because you didn't have access to this information. So this is a great service that you are providing. What do you think is ahead for you and My Life Directory?
Well, that's interesting. You never really know. As I said, this isn't a job for me. This is more of a mission. So I'm taking it and getting pulled in whatever direction it happens. I don't know who's going to call up or send me an email next. The fact that you're taking the time to talk about this is really important. And the other thing I want to thank you is mentioning I'm the co-founder, because my wife is involved with this and she would never forgive me if you hadn't mentioned that. The other thing I find interesting, men want to be in control. So I've talked to couples, and the gentleman will say, well, I've got everything organized. And the wife looks at him and says, I don't have a clue where anything is. I don't even understand it. Do we have a mortgage or don't we? So it brings all kinds of things to the surface just by having the conversation, which is so important. People have said, they've written me back, they said, I have your book, I've changed it, I'm going about doing things differently, but thank you for giving me an opportunity to have this discussion with my wife or my family and with myself. So that, I don't know where it's going next. I would encourage your listeners to go to the directory. There's a link there. You can send me an email. Anybody that has ideas, just pass them along. That's the way I get a lot of the information is people say, have you thought about doing this? Or why not that? Or try this. So I'm sending out emails all the time. And frankly, COVID put a real crimp. You might not think so, but I was scheduled for a lot of presentations of senior groups, even a funeral group or a cemetery group. That was back in April and May, and those were all canceled. So once we get through this crisis, sometime next year, I'll be able to meet with more people. And the thing I'm talking about with groups now is the whole topic of where is everything. So it's not so much a sales pitch. It's more getting people just to think about the fact they need to locate things, they need to think about what happens when they're not in charge. So thank you for doing this.
Neil, thank you for being with us. This is 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Thank you to you as well as to your wife. You're definitely going to be starting conversations, important conversations that need to be had. You are making a difference, so we appreciate your time and we wish you the best on your continued journey. And I will say now that you're a Zoom expert, 5 Zoom calls in, you can start having those meetings virtually now.
I need somebody to invite me. That's all I need.
Neil Hicks with us. He's the co-founder of My Life Directory. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, we'll be joined with Curt Lawson from the West Bloomfield Police Department.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the medical director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dull alongside Tyler Keefe here in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM in the greater West Bloomfield area. We appreciate all of you for being with us here on this Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. As we round out the last hour of the week, we are bringing in right now Deputy Chief Curt Lawson of the West Bloomfield Police Department breaking news in the West Bloomfield area this morning, as just after around 3:30 this morning, there was a 911 call about a home invasion in the West Bloomfield area, and an individual inside the home was shot. We've been trying to follow this throughout the morning, so let's bring in the deputy chief. What's the latest on the investigation? Has anyone been arrested yet?
So there's no one in custody at this point. Just to give you a kind of an overview of what happened, just before 3:30 this morning, our communications center received a 911 call from a resident up in the area of Hiller, north of Greer, stating that 3 individuals had broken into her house. They had come upstairs into the residence and shot her husband several times. They had then fled the area. Officers got up there relatively quick. We secured the residence. We did a perimeter. We called several canine units to the area and did a track. And we determined with quite a bit of confidence that those suspects had already left the area via vehicle. So our detectives have been on scene since a little bit after 4 o'clock this morning. They're processing a lot of evidence. They've taken electronic evidence. They're looking for surveillance video from surrounding houses. And of course, if any residents saw something suspicious right around 3 a.m. to 3:30, definitely give us a call to be interested in talking to you about that. At the time of the home invasion, there was 4 people in the residence. We're very thankful that, unfortunately one person was obviously shot, but the other 3 are unhurt. There was multiple shots fired within the house, not only from the suspects, but from one of the individuals inside the house. So thankfully, none of the neighbors were hurt. And it's early in the investigation, but it's certainly an ongoing investigation.
And Deputy Chief, obviously the first thing that comes to mind for anyone who lives in the area is, are they at harm? Is this random? Or does this seem like the suspects and the victim had some type of connection?
Well, it's, like I said, it's very early in the investigation, but from everything that we've seen so far, this is not a random event. They knew who was living there. They knew why they went to that residence. So we don't believe it was just a random event. And like I said, those suspects we don't believe are in the area. So our residents could breathe a sigh of relief.
There are so many people now with Ring cameras or other types of home security devices. I would imagine that could be a huge asset to members of your law enforcement team to try to help, put this crime together. So maybe homes that are even, 5-6 houses away, would you want them to look at their Ring cameras or their home security systems to maybe help put together a description of the vehicle involved?
Absolutely. And what's so interesting is that, technology is really what has led to all of our success. Now, we don't have these types of incidents very often. In the last couple of years, we've probably had 2 or 3 shootings total, but we've had a lot of success. And a lot of that success is based on the amazing team that we have here in West Bloomfield, but also the technology. And we're able to use that technology to our advantage. So we're going to be downloading cell phones and computers, and we're going to be looking for those Ring cameras and those surveillance videos to try to develop some suspect information. But you're absolutely right. If there's anyone that lives anywhere in that subdivision, off of 3 Ponds, I believe it is, the subdivision, the street that comes in off the subdivision, we would like to hear from them if they have any sort of surveillance video or if they saw anything suspicious, because there's only one way in and one way out of that subdivision.
Curt Lawson with us, Deputy Chief of the West Bloomfield Township Police Department and their Public Information Officer as well. Curt, if there are neighbors in the area that do have that information, what's the best way for them to provide that should they decide to do so to the West Bloomfield Police Department?
Well, they can always contact us. We prefer actually via phone because we have a lot of dispatchers and public safety aides that are going to be able to answer that phone and interact with them very quickly. So that phone number is 248-975-9200. Or they can message us on Facebook and we'll get back to them right away. But we're very interested in, a lot of the previous cases that we've had, large cases, a lot of those breaks have been from residents coming forward and providing us information. It's been a great partnership with our community. And I think that's why we end up solving so many of these cases. This is just not us doing the work, it's us with the community getting the job done.
What can you tell us about the victim at all? How is he doing? And I think I saw one report that he could be a rapper.
Yes, I've heard the same report. When he was transported by the West Bloomfield Fire Department, he was conscious. He was shot multiple times. I don't have an update on his status at this point. I can tell you that he actually FaceTime live after he was shot, which we don't recommend. But we've looked at that video. He was talking and breathing and all of those things after he was shot. So.
Wait.
Yes, I knew you were.
You're shot multiple times.
Yes.
And you're Facebooking live.
Yes.
As what? What is this world coming to?
It is a different world that we live. Yes. And you know, thankfully we're able to check people's social media, and we're able to find that and take a look at that ourselves, and it's part of the investigation.
Okay, again, 248-975-9200 if people know something.
That's correct.
Okay. The good thing here, it seems like he's still alive, and obviously there was some type of connection between the victim and the suspects, so the general public doesn't need to be of concern. However, if they know something, to call in with that information.
Absolutely. And what we try to do here at the West Bloomfield is we really try to get out in front of this. And so we push this information out right away so we can alleviate the concerns of some of the residents in our north end, because, word was getting around pretty quick. Actually, I got a call from the news media this morning about this incident before I got a call from my work. So word got out pretty quick. But we try to stay on top of it, and we encourage our residents to follow us on our social media sites.
You guys have been great about keeping up your social media sites and following along and getting that information out. Speaking about that, so we've covered this big breaking news, and we talked to the chief yesterday as well, so we always appreciate having all of you on as well. You're a very experienced law enforcement officer, and I know that you have no direct connection to the big news that came out yesterday regarding the investigation into the attempt to try to possibly kidnap the governor and instigate civil war here in the state of Michigan. Just from a law enforcement standpoint and someone with your expertise and knowledge, when you saw that headline, what was going through your mind?
Well, obviously, it was shocking because there was no intelligence that was available to us, at least, that something like that was going on. But I can tell you, I had the privilege to go to the FBI National Academy back in 2009, and that's where they send leaders in law enforcement to get specialized training. And I remember them telling us at the time in 2009 that their biggest concern wasn't foreign terrorism, it was local domestic terrorism. So that was back in 2009. I don't think that's really changed. You have left-wing groups, you have right-wing groups, and they're always a concern. And that's why it's so important for law enforcement at local, state, federal levels to communicate and share that information. And for the most part, post 9/11, we've done a very good job with that, and we've been able to stop some of the some things that were in the works that we certainly wouldn't want to see come to fruition.
Yeah, and that is one thing that is so important is the collaboration, because let's just say the FBI is not known to play well in other people's sandboxes, as we like to say in the law enforcement community. But in this case, it does seem like some of this started on the local level, and then you get the state and the feds together. And when you can pull those resources, and the importance of having confidential informants, but also I think this really speaks to, at a time, the importance of being able to have a very wide-ranging, diverse law enforcement community so that you can have agents that are willing to go undercover. And we need people of all different backgrounds to be able to join law enforcement so they can help go into some of these groups to be able to put these cases together, because you can't just rely on confidential informants. While they're important, we also need some of these law enforcement officers and agents to be able to do those jobs as well.
You're exactly right. I know the chief talked a little bit yesterday on the Megacast about the importance of recruiting and getting minority recruits, especially in a community like West Bloomfield. We're just so very, very diverse. And I'm being very truthful when I say that federal agencies have been really great with us as far as sharing information. But we also embed some of our detectives in these federal agencies. We have someone in the Secret Service, we have someone in the FBI, the DEA. So we have a pretty good pulse on what's going on. I know the chief has a secret clearance and I'm working on getting mine. So we actually have FBI briefings that we're a part of. So we have a good idea of what's going on, and we're going to be part of the solution if something arises that's a danger to our community.
Curt Lawson with us, West Bloomfield Township Deputy Police Chief and Public Information Officer. Deputy Chief, at this time, where can people find more information as it comes out from the police department? Obviously, we'll be on top of it and share whatever information you can provide for the community as you update them on the incident that happened this morning with the home invasion and shooting in West Bloomfield. But as those updates come out, where will you be providing those?
So we're definitely going to put out updates on our social media. I've talked to the press so much today that I'm losing my voice. So I'm sure at noon and 5 o'clock, you'll see additional information. But right now, I think we're gonna see less information come out over the next probably 4 or 5 days as we just kind of digest all the evidence that we've gathered. We sift through it, we do our interviews. So I actually expect us to slow down a little bit with the investigation, take our time, make sure we get it right. And then hopefully we'll have the results that we're looking for at the end of the day.
And Deputy Chief, can you talk about the importance of that? Because in today's world, we expect information every 15, 20, 30 minutes or an hourly update. But there are times you do need to be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So why is that important sometimes for the community to know that you are still working a case, however, you can't share all the information that you're gathering?
Sure. Well, it's very important, especially in today's law enforcement. We're really under the spotlight, sometimes deservingly so, sometimes not. But it's very important that we're transparent, and we want to control that narrative. So we want to push out information that we can push out to the community and to the media. But at the same time, we got to make sure that we're not going to compromise the case when it goes to court, that we're not going to kind of spoil the jury pool and influence that jury. So it's a balancing act. But the chief and I, we converse about what information that we're going to release, and I think for the most part we've been good. We haven't really had any issues, but we try to be as transparent as possible.
Again, I'm just going back to the victim who is Facebooking live after he's been shot. Has he been cooperating with law enforcement at all? Does he have any indication or any tips or clues that he's been able to clue you and your detectives into as to who might be behind this?
I don't think I want to talk too much about that. I'll say that we have talked to him, and the conversation will continue.
Deputy Chief Curt Lawson with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. It's always great to have you on with us. Anything we didn't touch on as of yet that you want to get out to the public?
No. Well, I guess there's one thing, certainly from the police chief and the fire chief and myself, we want to tell our residents that I know there's been a lot of information out there. It has become a little bit political about whether to wear a mask or not wear a mask. It's just our opinion from listening to the scientists, listen to the experts, listen to the doctors at Henry Ford Hospital right here in West Bloomfield, that we just believe is very important that you social distance and that you do wear a mask when you're in a confined space or you're out in the public and you can't keep that 6 foot of distance. So I want to get that message out there that we really believe that is important as we work our way through this wonderful 2020.
And I will say, for the most part, every time I go to Kroger or CVS or anywhere, any of the shops here in the West Bloomfield area, I've not yet seen anyone not comply. I think it's starting to become a habit. People may not like it, but even after the Supreme Court decision last Friday, I thought I'd start to see people maybe not wearing them. But for the most part, everyone seems to still be abiding by the mask mandate. Are you guys seeing that as well?
We are, absolutely.
Well, that's good to know. See, you can teach old dogs new tricks, right?
That's correct.
We're all getting older. It's hard to learn these new habits, but when you look at Asia, China, some of these other countries, they're so used to wearing masks because they've had outbreaks such as SARS and these other viruses that for them it has become kind of a way of life. And here in America, it hasn't been. So this is our first real time with this, and 6+ months into it, we are starting to get the message that we need to wear the mask, if not for our own good, for those around us, and also just to be respectful of others. So, Deputy Chief, we always appreciate having you here on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Great to see you guys. Have a great weekend.
You too. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when Tyler and I come back, we are going to be switching gears just a little bit and turning our focus to trying to learn in this pandemic. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test, and now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Always great to have you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. It's the Friday edition. We made it to Friday, Tyler.
Finally.
How about that? I will say, though, I think the weeks fly by. I start off the week with so many good intentions of all these projects I want to get going, and then, boom, it's Friday. I marked maybe one thing off my list.
Yeah, it really gets away from you after a little while there.
It was a small thing on my to-do list as well, but at least I did check it off. But
that's good.
It's a busy time for everyone here, and everyone trying to make the most of the time, but other people are doing so much better with their time management than I am, and that is Pastor Coley Gracey. He is with the Shiloh Baptist Church in Pontiac, Michigan. I love what you guys are doing to try to help the community and the kids in this virtual learning environment. Pastor, thank you for being with us on the Oakland County Megacast.
Thank you for having me.
Have you had to go back to 5th grade math yet?
Now look, 5th grade math is completely different. They have a brand new math that we didn't learn, and I'm flunking out of school all over again. This is bad.
Right? I'm like, no, if they come to my classroom, they're going to have to carry the one.
That's it.
Pastor, if you can, bring us up to speed for those that aren't familiar with your learning initiative. Give everyone an update as to what you all are doing over there at the Good Church.
Well, as we know, because of COVID, our school systems in Pontiac specifically have been shut down to go 100% virtual. Because of that, students are forced to stay at home. thankfully, we've been blessed enough where most of the students have been gifted laptops from the school district, and they can log straight in. The problem is they don't have Wi-Fi at home, or their Wi-Fi isn't strong enough, or their parents may be working during the day and they don't have the proper help. This all started because when it first began, I was driving down the street and I just so happened to see 3 kids sitting on the curb at a fast food place. And I'm curious, hey, what's going on? And they said, well, we're here because we had to log into school and we don't have Wi-Fi at home. So right then it clicked, we have to do something as a community. So I went to the church, I went to the community. I said, look, we need to set up some safe space where kids can come and log into school and get their education. So we're blessed enough at Shiloh to be able to offer, we offer free breakfast, we offer free lunch, we give them a snack, we give them access to our Wi-Fi. And it's just an opportunity for them to come in, learn something, get what they need from school, and continue their matriculation. Because the truth is, the people that we're helping now are going to be our doctors, they're going to be our lawyers. And if they don't get it now, we're going to be in trouble in about 10 years.
Oh, you know what, that image of those kids, it breaks my heart, and it must have done the same for you as well. So bless you and all of you for not just stopping to talk to them, but taking it to the next level to realize that there are so many people that need help.
That's what we do. And it was kind of scary because, you get the creepy old guy coming up to you at the fast food place. Like, hey, what are you doing? And they looked at me like, I don't talk to strangers. But when I told them what they were doing, they looked halfway excited. I have not seen them yet, partially because I'm thinking if I was that age and some guy came up to me and said, you can come down to the church if you want, I probably wouldn't go either. But it is what it is, and we're offering what we can.
You bring up a great point, though, because I think there are other people that would want to reach out and help others. But because we have been taught, don't talk to kids because they're being taught not to talk to strangers, but you want to help. But if we don't drop that barrier and have these impromptu conversations, because I feel like if we don't move in that moment that we feel something, we don't go back to find out who that person was to be able to help them. So it puts people in a hard spot, but at the end of the day, you just hope their heart speaks to them, because you're making a huge difference right now. And thinking of that and thinking of the people that have maybe seen something like this and they want to help, how can they assist your church in what you're doing?
Ronnie, I'm so glad you asked. We are accepting donations. If it's a monetary donation, if you make it out to the church, it's tax deductible. If it's simple snacks, if we have business owners that own like restaurants and they want to help us out with the food, if anybody's looking for community service hours and they want to come in, they want to sit at the desk and pre-screen, because we go through the truth is, at Shiloh, we're still not back in for worship, but they allowed me to open it up to help these kids. So we have somebody at the front desk that are pre-screening people. They're taking temperatures, they're taking logs. So if that's all you want to do, if you don't deal with kids at all, I have a position that you can help. So the doors are open. Come on in. We can put you to work. But however you want to help, trust me. If whatever you feel like doing, I can find a place for you to do it.
Pastor Coley Gracey with us here on from the Shiloh Baptist Church on the Oakland County Megacast. I know we've had you on before. Your church has also been a location for some COVID-19 testing. When we are coming into 7 months into this pandemic and into this crisis, I feel like people are getting COVID-19 fatigue, if there is such a thing, and they're starting to forget the rules and the regulations and why it's important for us to do what we are doing. How do you manage to keep those that are becoming, depressed about all of this? How do you keep their faith and their hope up that there is another side to this crisis?
We've been preaching, my preaching and my teaching through this entire, we haven't been in the actual church house since March. So everything that I've been preaching, everything that I've been teaching, everything, even in conversation, is just a message of hope. Like, look, this is not forever. And I often use, small things like when you were in high school and that little boy broke your heart, that was the end of your world. You thought you were going to die right then. Now that you're 20 years older and you're looking back, wasn't so bad and he wasn't that good looking anyway. So if you look at it from that standpoint, the things that you're going through right now, they seem like the absolute worst. This COVID experience is horrible. I take nothing from it. But the truth is, once we get over the hump, once we get past it, there hasn't been anything in history that has been able to keep us down. We've been through a pandemic before. We've been through smallpox. We've been through so many different sicknesses and illnesses. This is just another one that we're going to have to get over. And once we do, we'll be able to get back to life as usual.
Pastor Coley Gracey with us from Shiloh Baptist Church in Pontiac with us today on the Oakland County Megacast. 12 to 15 students in this learning initiative. Food is available, and these students can go to virtual school at the church. Is there a limitation? Is there a cap that the church is putting on how many kids each day are going to be allowed to be schooled, to do the virtual schooling at the church?
We're trying to set them up so that they can have some bit of normalcy. So we're accepting up to 15 kids. I still have room available, but we're just asking that they would be able to come Monday through Friday. That's all we're asking. It's just like a regular school situation. So if we can have some consistency, we'll be able to serve people a little better.
And Pastor, what hours is your church available for them?
We are absolutely flexible. Right now, I open the church at 7 o'clock and we leave here at about 4. So I'm trying to cover all grade levels. Now, there are some grade levels some different districts that start at 7. So we can open a little earlier. It really depends on who comes in, who signs up, and what their need is.
And that's what's so hard is all these different school districts are doing different things. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine if I had kids and like some are in elementary and some are in junior high and others are in high school. Every school is doing something different. It's got to be challenging.
It is absolutely nuts. I have an elementary school and a middle school that are on 2 different, completely opposite schedules. Their lunches are at different times. They start at different times. They end at different times. They get on my nerves at the same time. So it all works out.
So, and Pastor, I'm curious to know, just from a family standpoint, how are they coping? What are you hearing from some of the people in your community? How are they coping with this? Because I feel like it's not only kids that are falling between the cracks, but it's also their parents as well, because people feel ashamed to reach out and ask for help. And I feel like if there's any time in this world right now that it's okay to ask for help, this is it.
It is. And that's a stigma that we have to get over, even in this community. It comes down. That's one of the reasons why we're not packed to capacity, is because people are so proud that, look, if I'm not on my bare knuckles, I can make it on my own. And the truth is, there are organizations here that can help. There are churches here that can help. Don't be so proud that you end up running yourself absolutely crazy before you reach out and ask for help. I think a lot of it can be helped with maintenance instead of going in and having to do last minute surgery.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And it's once you actually open up and ask for that help, or not even asking for help, but have conversations with other people, those are important conversations to have so that you don't feel like you're so alone in this world. So when you're speaking with people from the community, are you having those conversations and telling them to reach out to other people? And maybe if they're not comfortable coming to the church, reach out to a neighbor, reach out, to the person at the grocery store or the gas station, have a conversation with someone.
Well, honestly, Ronnie, one of the best things that I've seen happen is this has almost been a reset button for our community. I think we started to grow so large that we were able to go home. We'd go into our 2-car garage that's attached. We'd close the garage. We'd go in the house. We wouldn't say anything to anybody. We'd get up in the morning. We'd leave. We'd come back and do the same thing. So our communities weren't communities anymore. What's happening now because of COVID, a lot of people are home more. A lot of people are in their common areas more. So even if they're not right next to each other, socially distanced, I can see my neighbor and say, hey, you doing okay? You need anything? Everything okay over there? And you start to build relationships again in the community. So that's actually a positive that I've seen.
Pastor Coley Gracey with us from Shiloh Baptist Church. Just another few minutes with you, Pastor, before we will let you go today. If there's anything else people want to know about your Learning Initiative program, that still is some space available, and they want to get in contact with you to arrange to have their child be doing their virtual learning at the church, or any other information about projects going on at Shiloh Baptist Church in Pontiac, how can they get in contact with you? What's the best way for them to find more information?
Thank you, Tyler. Because I always forget to plug it, but the easiest way to contact us is through our Facebook page. You can search us at the Shiloh Baptist Church, and it'll pull up our page, or you can email us at sbcpontiac@gmail.com. However you want to reach us, you can. If you Google us, you'll get a phone number. I'll be honest with you. I'm from the age where we're not really using phones, especially landlines. So some people won't use a landline at all. So if you want to email me, if you want to send me a message through Facebook, we're also on. I'm on Twitter at Rev Gracey. I'm on Instagram at Rev Gracey. I'm on Facebook. However you see me is a good way to reach me. I'll be completely honest.
No Snapchat, no TikTok?
I do have Snapchat. Hey. And I do have TikTok. I don't put anything on, but mostly my background, I was a youth pastor before I became a senior pastor. So all of my social media outlets are to keep up with all the kids that I touched in the past, that I was able to reach out to, and they're in college now, and they'll put something strange on them, like, hey, don't forget, I'm still following you. I'm still here. And I'm not a parent, but I'm somebody that's safe, that they can, I was just having a bad day. I'm glad you checked on me. Thank you for looking out for me.
I always tell my niece and nephew I cyberstalk them.
I do.
And you know what? You need to hold a, when this pandemic is over, or you could do it virtually, you should hold a social media class for older people, because my twin sister, she's not on any social media. So that's why I'm on it, so I can monitor her kids. But they now don't post anything on their face or their social media, because they know I'm watching them. So now I cyberstalk their friends, because their friends will post stuff. So I know what they're doing. Is that wrong?
Absolutely not. You've become a good detective. You've become a good aunt. That's what we're supposed to do as responsible adults. And the honest truth is, a lot of my congregation's older. So our church services have been online. My Bible studies have been online. So it's almost forced them to start Facebook accounts. Now, for a while, every time they logged in, they made a new one. So I have 4 different friends with the same profile picture, but they got the hang of it. And it's the ability to connect generations. And I think that's what we should be doing anyway.
Any indication as to when you'll start actually having services in person again?
I have absolutely no clue. I just met with my leadership board to let them know that, one, I'm not in a rush. And I mean, I've been talking to some people. Some people said, look, it may not be to the first of the year. I've talked to other pastors, and they said they may not open until Easter of next year. I'm honestly going by science. I'm going by the numbers, real numbers from Michigan. Originally, I wanted to go back in August. I saw the spike in July, and I said, no chance. We're not going back. So when the curve starts going back down, we can look back at it. But as of right now, it's literally day to day.
And as you said, it's teaching all of us to get out of our comfort zones and to learn to use technology to be able to reach out to one another. So that is, at the end of the day, a gift that you're giving all of the members of your church. Pastor, it's always great having you with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Be sure anytime you have any updates, will you reach out, let us know. We'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely. I love being here. I do want to say in my closing statement, we've often said that the church is closed. The truth is we're the church, and we're more busy now than we've ever been.
Oh, and thank you for everything that you're doing for the community of Pontiac and for the kids as well. We appreciate everything. And be safe, be healthy, and happy weekend to you and all of your members as well.
You too.
Tyler and I are going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we'll be speaking with our final guest. And just like that, Tyler, the day is almost to an end, but we will be speaking with the general manager of CityRow, because now is the time to get back into shape. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Caldoun. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
Great having you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Thanks for tuning in to the Friday edition. We appreciate having you along with us as we continue to interview newsmakers and interesting people throughout the greater West Bloomfield area and the state of Michigan as we all continue to try to come to some type of normal during this crisis. And we are excited to bring in now Cynthia Gleich. She is the general manager of CityRow. She's joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So are you back open for business yet or no?
Actually, that's a yes and no answer, actually.
We're somewhat not. We're getting there.
Yeah. So we opened on Monday to our founding members that we're not charging. We're open to anyone that wants to become a founding member right now for free. We are giving them 2 weeks of free classes. And then on the 19th of this month is our official grand opening. And that's invitation is for everyone to come in, check us out. There's free raffles, giveaways, and all kinds of good stuff.
For those not familiar with CityRow, can you fill us in?
Sure, I'd love to. So we're a boutique type studio, so smaller. We focus on rowing and strength training, meaning that we combine rowing and strength training, meaning with weights. So we transition individuals of all levels. So in a class, there'll be all levels of fitness in there. and you're able to work at, your level of fitness. We guide you. So you'll be on the rower for a certain amount of time or meters. And then we transition you to the mat with weights. Like this morning, the class I was teaching, we transitioned to the mat at one circuit, and we were doing bicep curls and overhead shoulder presses, 20 reps. Then we would transition back to the rower. We did 300 meters. We would transition back to the mat, and we would do another set, something with planks and then shoulder taps and things like that. So it's a combination. Most importantly, it's a low impact. So there is no pain on the joints, but it's high intensity, meaning it's going to get that heart rate up. Your heart is pumping, you're moving to great loud music, and you've got an instructor that is certified, that has to go through a certification to be able to instruct. Make sure that you're rowing properly, you learn how to row properly, because there is a technique to it. You just don't get on there and go. And then any move we're doing with the weights or on the mat or even in the cool down, that you're doing it properly. That is our biggest thing, is form, and that everything you do in our studio is the correct form, that you're guided in correct form.
And it's such a great all over body workout as well. Do you think the boutique gyms such as yours are going to be kind of the way for people to go as we navigate through COVID, because they're uncomfortable being in a larger gym setting?
Is a great question. I can say what there have been some studies. I can refer to those and tell you what those are showing. The studies are showing that people are preferring smaller environments, meaning smaller, not smaller space, of course, smaller environment type of gyms, whereas what they call the big box gyms, the big brand name gyms that are larger gyms, the study shows people are tending to pull away from those during the COVID period. And the reason behind that is with the boutique type fitness centers, smaller fitness centers, the classes are scheduled at certain times, and that's it. And then in between those classes, there's plenty of time to sanitize everything from the floor to the ceiling. And then after the last class, it's closed down. And again, plenty of time to sanitize from the floor to the ceiling, everything in there. Whereas a big box gym, you've got everything. You may have multiple floors, in fact, but you've got thousands of square feet, and you've got hand weight section, you've got fitness room section, you've got a spinning room, you've got, there's many components and beautiful gyms. But in personal perspectives, people look at it and maybe they become fearful, whatever their personal reasonings are, but there has been a decline. And it's just that's shown in the studies, and that's what I can reference. And the only thing that comes to my brain is, with the smaller boutique style or the smaller gym, it's just giving the gyms more time to be able to completely have control over how many come in and what size the classes are and how often, and being able to clean very thoroughly, because it's a small space.
So when people do go to the gym, what is the protocol going to be like? It's different in every different retailer, every different store, every different public place or private place that you're going to in these times. What can people expect when they come to CityRow? Do they have to be able to do? What information do they have to be able to give? And what rules are there going to be to follow due to COVID-19?
Sure. So what we've done, we used to have 19 spaces in our studio. Now we have a total of 8 for the clients and 1 for the instructor. So it's a total of 9 spaces. Each space has 9 feet apart, dividing. So they have if you want to call it their own little box, whatever you want to refer to it as. They have their own weights that stay in their space. They have their own mat that stays in their space. Nobody is coming in their space. Nobody is touching their weight, their mat, or their rower. Again, everything has been completely sanitized before they walk in. When they walk in, so we let somebody in. They come in. We do a temperature check. They come up to the desk. stay within, distance, and we do the temperature check. If they get a thumbs up, they're good. They can forward and progress to our what we call our sanitization process of going into the bathrooms, men or women, go into the bathroom, wash their hands. If they'd like, we've even got a sanitizer bottle right outside and then one on the wall when they come out of the bathroom that they can even go further and sanitize. Excuse me, I should back up. They have a mask on when they come in. And then they go into their station. They choose which station they want when they register for the class online. So they go to station whatever 2 they chose. So they're at station number 2. They drop their belongings. The lockers are not being used at the present time. So they put their belongings in their space. Then from there, they are told what size weights they need for the day. They go get those weights, put them into their station. Once their booty is on the rower and they're stationary, they can lower that mask because now they'll be rowing and working out and increasing that heart rate to a high heart rate, mid heart rate, whatever zone it may be. But that's it. But once the class is done, that mask gets raised. They grab their belongings, leave the weights, everything in their spot so we can make sure we sanitize the ones they used, and then they exit the studio. That's how we do it.
And how often do you offer the classes? Is it wide ranging so people who have maybe a schedule where they have to remote work or teach their kids that they can access different times?
Yes. So right now we have and it's our most popular actually, is our 6 a.m. We have the 6 a.m., we have a 9:20, so Monday through Friday, and then a 5:20 and a 6:30. And then on the evenings, and then on Saturday and Sunday, we have an 8:30 and a 9:40. They're 50-minute classes.
And typically about how many people per class?
The max we can have is 8. So that will max us out, is 8 people. Since we just this week opened and getting the word out there, the most I've had in one class right now is 6. So,
Cynthia, again, tell us exactly where you're located, and if people want to become a founding member, what type of commitment are they looking at? Is it a monthly fee or a long-term contract?
Great question. I love that. So we don't believe in contracts at CityRow. It's a month-to-month. And you can cancel at any time. You just let us know and we'll cancel it out. There's no initiation fee when you start. There's no cancellation fee when you want to end. Like I said, it's just month to month. You just come in and it'll just keep going until you let us know, you know what, moving, or it's just not working for me anymore with my schedule. Whatever the reason, it's fine. So with that, the address is 6629 Orchard Lake Road. They can find us on cityrow.com and then just choose Michigan. Currently, we are the only one in Michigan right now. This location in West Bloomfield, we do plan on opening 2 more locations in Michigan. But for CityRow, West Bloomfield is the only location currently. But the Founder Special is running until the 19th, our grand opening day. And then the membership cost will go up after that.
What's it like to try to, they're looking at opening up other CityRows in the state of Michigan. What's that like in this crazy time of COVID and the economy? You don't know if it's going to go up or go back down.
Right.
How do you navigate that world?
Well, definitely things are different in every aspect of life right now. Fitness is something that we all need, especially right now. It gets your endorphins going. It helps you stay healthy. With that, I think that people are starting to slowly come back. The plan to open 2 more was a different time. It's been extended now to later out. So we will still open those 2. It's not going to stop us. It's just delaying the time that we wanted to have them open, which is completely fine and understandable. But we're here to help people connect, I guess, is the best way of saying it. Not only keep healthy, learn how to be healthy, but connect. We need that right now. People need to be able to go out, connect, meet new people, laugh, have fun, and sweat while you're doing it. And it, it may just be, the new thing that you really become addicted to, a healthy addiction here. So I guess that kind of answers your question in many ways.
It very much so does, because I think the isolation has really worn on people. So when it was announced that gyms could reopen, people were excited because it was part of their daily routine, but their routines have changed too because so many people are working remotely now.
Yep.
But like you said, some people just aren't comfortable going into a big gym any longer. So there is an option such as this. And then I would imagine it's pretty much the same people coming to the classes each and every day. So you almost get your own little exercise pod, if I want to say that, right?
Yeah. And, another thing I didn't mention is being a smaller fitness studio, you really do build up those relationships with your clients. I mean, I know about their kids. I know about, somebody's mother who may not be doing well, or I know about the celebration they just had, or one of our patients who's a doctor who, he's got a crazy schedule this day and off on this. It's nice to be able to have those personal relationships with the clients and know them and what's going on in their life. And it's a two-way street. It's great for them too, to be able to know us and know that we care. And we're not just a fitness studio. We're a place that you come in and yes, you get a good workout and you get a good laugh. And guess what? Like just the other morning at 6 a.m, one of the gals wasn't feeling up to doing the workout because she just started working out again and she's just in so much pain. So guess what we did? So one of the instructor that was on for that morning went in and taught the class. I was standing outside speaking with this individual for 40 minutes. Again, it's that connection and the relationship building, and just we all need that. We all need that right now. So it's a beautiful thing. So
just about another minute here with you on the Oakland County Megacast. Before we let you go, what positive thing do you think that you and your team members have learned from this crisis that you think will help you in the future? Or even advice that you would give to other small business owners?
You've got to be able to adapt and change in a heartbeat. You can't go forward with the old way. You've got to pay attention to what's going on and adapt to that and to the needs of the people out there. So you have to listen to them and what they need and go forward with that.
That is always great advice. Do you have social media? And if so, where can people find you?
Yeah, all of it is CityRow West Bloomfield.
Okay. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Instagram and Facebook predominantly.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Cynthia. It was so great having you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. We wish you the best of luck. And thank you for what you guys are doing. And thank you for hanging in there and providing this service to our community.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Go have a great workout. Stay healthy. Stay safe. We appreciate your time. Tyler, we see so many of these businesses, and it's so hard for them to continue what they're doing because we have to remember, it's a small group. You need to keep the lights on. You need to pay your rent. You're paying for your equipment. You have an investment. But one thing we have learned with so many of these gym owners, especially in the smaller venues, is they are committed to their members and committed to their community. And we need them now I think, more than ever.
Absolutely, and that's one of the great benefits about these gyms being reopened is it is connecting people back with their communities. People have been wanting to get back there not only for their ability to continue their fitness regimen, but because you get used to the people you're commonly working out with. You have growing relationships with those people, and it's great to see that those have been restored as these facilities have reopened.
Absolutely. Great week here on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Jake and Larry for all of their contributions and their hard work, and Ryan this week as well. From Tyler and I, we want to say thank you, stay safe, and stay healthy.